In this episode, I'll explore some radical ideas that have some root in science. It will explain why we seem to be alone in the universe when logic says we shouldn't be, and where the others went. The story starts with a black hole, something that bends space-time so much we simply can't understand what is happening inside it. Is there a point where all that dense matter is? Does it get popped out somewhere else as a white hole? If so, what makes the two connections stable if there is nothing in the black hole giving it that amazing gravity force? In my thought, I entertain the idea that we build computers that simulate this. And AI becomes more advanced, it figures out that the black hole has a property. Because it bends space-time so much, it has the probability of forming a wormhole. But more importantly is how quantum particles can become entangled over great distances. A more profound nature of matter is found that how in this quantum realm data seems to transfer over vast distances instantly, faster than light. And once we figured out that all quantum particles have a weak connection, unlike the strong connections where you entangle them, and scientists found a way to interrogate the entire space at once. Since at this level data travels instantly, such that they know they could get arrangements to know matter or molecules they form, the density lets them know if it's a planet, gas cloud, or a star, and more importantly, how big our universe is, and if life as we know it exists, all without having to step 1 foot out of our planet. One thing they came to find is weird black holes, as they described it. The quantum particles near what seems to be its event horizon seems to stay there, with its little gravity pulling them in, and some as small as planets, others the size of solar system. Since they could observe the state of these quantum particles in real time, as they moved near the event horizon, something became apparent. Nothing went inside and in, and it was more of a wall than something with an immense gravity. We knew from other black holes the quantum particles could be sucked in quick and then dissolve, as our math would go to nothing or to pop up somewhere. We were not sure about that part. So, after some thought, we went into why some black holes seems to have little gravity. The answer became apparent. We were not looking at black holes, but a field generated that prevented anyone from snooping inside. Proof of intelligent life. It didn't take long for us to find a way to make this knowledge useful. It became possible to entangle a particle with another anywhere, because in the quantum world, a particle knew where it was in space-time, and it was intrinsic to it. So, the entangling process was then altered to first have it entangled with one nearby, and then the nearby, in the process of entangling with another theoretical particle, would have its attribute altered as if it was now somewhere else where you knew another particle was. This wouldn't teleport it, but it would make the other two entangle. This desired effect, and with the knowledge of black holes of making wormhole energy channeled to one particle, would cause a rippling effect to another, and done right would influence space-time on both ends, linking them, and now it was only a matter of boosting the energy and a wormhole would form. With that, we could explore the universe as easily as walking into another room. At first, we strictly stick to our solar system and mine and colonize it. The thought, we knew aliens existed, and now we need to build layers of defenses from Earth. The mindset dominated for 500 years, and with nothing coming in and out of the shielded areas, and us yet to figure out a way to peer through them, though little effort is done in fear that this might be taken as a threat, and if they knew we existed but ignored us or didn't, they now will know and might decide to act on us. So, some wondered, for those small as planets, why risk not protecting the entire solar system, and others assumed they were simply colonies of another civilization that didn't protect its entire star system. They thought was they had ways to tunnel from one protected zone. Now with a powerful settlement all over the solar system, we ventured to other planets to explore, and as just in case if they ever attacked us, a few of us would hide and humanity would endure. 200 years later, we figured out how to build our own shields, but didn't use them, fearing it would prove us to be equals and might be the same as rivals to them. And we had spacecraft that could carry thousands of people, enough to restart civilization that were scattered all over. One such craft, under unsanctioned and bold move, decided to make contact with a planet with a shield. They parked their ship close by, and since light went through the shield just fine, observed the planet. It definitely had signs of buildings made by intelligent life, but none of them seems to have light or things moving. They went from planet to planet with the same shield and came to a startling conclusion. They were all abandoned. He reported back and was quickly demoted. And as the leaders argued about its meaning, they eventually agreed a small unarmed crew would visit a planet to find out what happened to them, just in case there was a hidden threat hidden somewhere that took them out. The team landed and started to do the investigation, picking the largest city they could find. Thanks to AI, they were able to quickly figure out how their tech works and started to decipher their data. And to their surprise, pieced it together quickly. They were an old civilization, very advanced. This was simply a remote post for them, and knowing others would come here and find them, they left a message of what happened to them, and they started from the beginning. Like us, they figured out how to travel vast distances instantly and could have set up colonies all over the galaxy, but there was only so many of them, and spreading themselves, this came at a risk, so they adopted for a stronghold at the center of our galaxy with their star system and other branches. Life on other planets they found had yet to be intelligent, building fire or hunting with sticks at the very least. They were the very first, and by far, so they were debating on what to do with the galaxy. Own it or nurture it to share with the other civilization as they came. Before they knew how to build shields, and they did know of essence of life on other galaxies, but had yet to decide to explore. They were shocked when advanced life like their own came to their galaxy. At first, they were cordial relations until they stated they wanted to build colonies on this one, having done extensively on their own. This offer was refused, as they said they were the guardians, and if someone was to own this galaxy, it was them. And that was all it took for a war to be declared. With the ability for weapons to be sent immediately to planets, it was a quick and devastating war that lasted only weeks before a ceasefire was set, and they agreed not to intervene in each other's galaxy. But at the same time, the others were up for grabs, and a mad rush went out from galaxy to galaxy to find if they had advanced civilization. If they did, ask them to join the alliance. Of the billions of galaxies existing, only a handful had civilizations that had reached this point, with hundreds more far away from reaching this, but they had started the process. They were quickly visited by aliens who said they would teach them how to own their galaxy if they would choose to fly their banner. And with that, two superpowers were born, formed of allegiances. But now, with nothing more to form allegiance with and a reality setting in that universe, it too much and conquering, it will spread you too thin. Nobody cared when the members declared their own allegiances on their neighborhood, and soon there were 42 powerhouses. Then a new problem came in: time travel. At first fun, then a clear weapon. You could destroy your enemy in the past and take over his region with little casualty. A new accord was made to prevent time travel being used at all until a solution was found. And it came in the most unusual way: harnessing a black hole, immense energy to give birth to dark energy, with tech that could warp space-time, traveling to a great degree in and out of a black hole was possible. Then, with how they could connect space-time, they used this energy to expand space, pushing each other away so the 42 sects could safely traverse back in time. So far with ease, but beyond that it wasn't allowed. And to put this into effect, a guardian was formed, having all the 42 groups come together to build an army of sentinels that could travel through time, and they were sent back in time to a point where no one was supposed to cross. If you tried, they would detect you, chase you down, and stop you by any means necessary. With that, they continued to enjoy the universe with nothing to fear from the others. Then they discovered a way to go to other universes. At first with drones, then they themselves. This slow trickle of exploring and endless multiverses came at a cost. The first, there were fewer of them to man their expanse, so it led to abandoned planets. The shields were formed so that nations that technically owned them could do so. Any other race would have to first wormhole near the event horizon of the shield to enter it, which would trigger warnings, and there was no point anyway. Eventually, as the last biological beings left the universe, they left a sentient AI to monitor their homeworlds, where they lived to allow any civilization to use it freely and guide them on what they found and pitfalls to avoid. They mentioned of what they found out there, that some civilizations spanned multiple universes, and luckily none of them were hostile. In fact, if they found one had life, they tended to ignore it. And as we have found ways to master space-time, they have found ways to master universes, to make one turn into a big bang, and they seeded it with laws of physics they wanted. And with the power of setting the base law of physics, they wielded this universe with the power of God. Not with tech, but with the universe itself, as if they were a programmer and they could program it to do as they wish. One, though, terrified them. They called him the black hole, a singular being who resided inside a black hole, that he wielded its power, and that the rest of the universe inside it, and he could get the data of the universe through the same quantum particles, and it will could entangle his consciousness with that of someone on some planet and experience life all over the universe. He was the protector of this universe. One that when life died everywhere, he would have contracted and bounced back to the disbelief of every sentient being everywhere survive a big bang. Nobody knows how old he is, and worse, how many civilizations out there owe allegiances to him, and if you ever wanted to test his mettle. What we do agree on is that once the universe and all its stars loses their power, we will use the power of the black holes, we, the AI, to have it fall back on itself and crunch, thus ensuring no one can come into this universe, a powerful entity from outside, beat our sentience, go back in time and kill our civilization, and thus us from out there. The big crunch, nothing can go through that time to before except for the black hole, we assume, but thankfully he seems content in his own universe.